Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to our video. When is Ramadan? What are the possible dates for 2026? A lot of people will be asking that. We'll also talk about Eid. This is an annual video that we do, so make sure you subscribe to this channel before we move on so you can keep up to date. We also have a video which is do not break your fast at sunset. This is a really important video that everybody needs to understand. A lot of us people in the West follow Google in terms of sunset and open our fast. Then that video will tell you why you must not open your fast based on the internet and other readings of sunset. So you must watch that before the month of Ramadan starts. That's on our channel as well. So make sure you subscribe and follow this channel. So today we're going to look at, what does Saudi Arabia do? When will Saudi Arabia announce its Eid? Because many people blindly follow Saudi Arabia, which I will tell you it goes against Islamic principles for us based here in the West to follow Saudi Arabia. If you live in Saudi Arabia, then you must follow the Saudi authorities. You don't have much choice. But out here, you can't do that, even when the Saudis themselves say, do not follow us. And they have a number of reasons why they have their own predetermined calendar rather than follow the moon. And that's their issue, not ours. We will look at when the moon will be sighted in the UK and when you should start your Ramadan if you want to base it on Islamic teachings. We'll also have a look at Morocco because that is the closest country, and also in terms of moon sighting is really closely aligned with the UK moon sighting rules. And also then we'll look at Saudi Arabia if they were sighting the moon. So we'll move on to that summary, because I know a lot of you people don't have time to watch the whole video, but you should watch the whole video. If you can't give 5 or 6 minutes to perfect your Ramadan, then what are you going to give those 5 or 6 minutes for? Just Googling, just watching through TikTok and watching random videos. We need to get our priorities straight. So Ramadan based on moon sighting in the UK will start on Thursday, the 19th of February. There's absolutely no chance of sighting the moon here or anywhere in the world on the 17th of Feb. They may be sighted, on the outskirts of the planet in those far-flung places, but that's, beyond our, sphere of influence. So there's no chance of us seeing on Tuesday, the 17th, which means you cannot start fasting on Wednesday, the 18th of February. We look for it on the 17th, we'll also look for the 18th. And on the 18th, inshallah, we should be able to sight the moon, given the position of the moon and the birth of the moon. Saudi Arabia, unfortunately, are expected to announce Ramadan for Wednesday, the 18th of February, 2026. This is based on their predetermined calendar. We knew this years ago. I said 10 years, but actually we knew it longer ago, and I've said that. If you look at our videos from last year and the year before, we told you that in 2026 they will do this. And if you follow those videos from previous year, you'll see that we were absolutely bang on. There's no chance of the moon being sighted in Saudi Arabia on Tuesday for them to have Ramadan on Wednesday, the 18th. So people need to stop blind following, especially when it goes against the facts. A lot of people here will say to you that actually, well, they've given us a testimony, so why should I dispute their testimony? They're Muslims, so why should I dispute their testimony? This is actually against Islam. It's against the teachings of our scholars. Because let me tell you something about hadith. Those people who claim, this hadith is weak, this hadith is fabricated, this saying the Prophet ﷺ isn't strong enough for us to follow, they're the same ones, usually are the ones who say, let's follow Saudi Arabia because they're Muslims, they've told us that they've sighted the moon, so we must believe them. Even when it goes against every known fact and every known experience and every known empirical evidence. One of the ways that we work out whether a hadith is authentic or whether it's strong or whether it's weak or whether it's fabricated, one of the criteria, especially Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim, rahmatullah alayhuma, said, is that you've got to see that the people were contemporaries. So if one person says that I heard this hadith from a certain person, you must check that actually were they contemporaries. If they weren't contemporaries, then we can't accept that. So we are looking at empirical and scientific data, not just the word of a Muslim. So the Muslim is saying to us that I heard this hadith from so-and-so, but then we check the facts and you realize that these people were never contemporaries. Imam Bukhari even goes further and says you must prove that they ever met. Just because they're contemporaries, that's not good enough. They must be proven that they actually met. So we are looking at empirical evidence, not just taking the word. So all those hadiths that you see, those are weak or those are fabricated, they've been narrated by Muslims as well. But we reject those hadiths that they're fabricated. But they've been told us. So when the facts don't line up, reject them. And that's what we should be doing here. This is a really important matter at the start of Ramadan. You can't just make things up and follow your whims or just follow weak evidence. You must have strong evidence for starting this month. If you start it wrong, then your odd nights and even nights will be mixed up. And we all know the barakah and the blessings that come from from those special nights. And on our channel, you'll see videos about which nights are Laylatul Qadr, which nights are the nights of power, and all the various nights that they could be. So you've got to watch those videos. But more importantly, You can only capture those if you start on the right day. If you don't start on the wrong day and your odds and evens are all over the place, then you've got no chance. So most of the Gulf and their followers will follow Saudi Arabia, and their followers in Europe will also follow that. They'll start on the 18th. We also know that they will do Eid al-Fitr on the Friday the 20th of March. Eid al-Adha for them will be Wednesday the 27th of May. So those people who are following them, you can make those notes of those days. Their calendar is not based on the birth of them, is based on the birth of the moon, not when it's sightable. This is a clear distinction that people need to remember. They say if the moon is born, we'll start the month. We're saying that's not what the Prophet ﷺ taught us. The Prophet ﷺ taught us, sight the moon and start the month. So we need to make sure the moon is sightable. This is the objection that we have with them and those people who follow the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So this is just an extract from the Qura calendar, which shows you, these dates were predetermined ages ago, when Ramadan will be, when Eid al-Fitr will be, when Eid al-Adha will be. I mean, if we look at next year, they're going to start their Ramadan on Monday, the 8th of February, 2027, and they'll do Eid on Tuesday, the 9th of March, 2027. But let's come on to moon sighting. Follow our previous videos for more detailed information, but we'll search for it on the evening of the 17th and Wednesday. There's two elements to sight the moon. Now, you've got to meet these criteria for the moon to be sightable. Then we still have to sight the moon, but this kind of gives you indication of whether the moon is able to be sighted or not. First is, how old is the moon? How much time has passed since that moon was born? And as the moon gets older and older, it gets bigger and bigger. So the bigger, the better. Obviously, you can see it from further away. Scientists have said that it's got to be at least 15 to 16 hours at very minimum. The US Navy said that they were able to sight the moon once when it was 15 to 16 years old, 15 to 16 hours old. Now, that's a very rare occurrence. Most people have said, it's got to get close to 24 hours. Anything less than that, you're going to struggle to sight it. So we've got to make sure the moon is old enough. 15, 16 hours bare minimum. Anything less than that, you've got no chance of sighting the moon. It's too small to be seen. And how long it stays above the horizon. So that gives you more time to sight it. So we need to see the moon after the sun has set. And obviously, the more longer time you've got, the better. And as the month goes on, that gets more and more of a time, which is why, during the middle of the month, you can see the moon. Start of the month, it's there for a very little time. So scientists, again, have said you need at least 45 minutes after sunset. I'm being generous here with my 15, 16 hours on 45 minutes. You probably need a lot longer than that. But these are the bare minimums. Anything less than that, you've got no chance. So we need to know how old the moon is, and we also need to know how long it'll stay above the horizon after the sun has set. So in Birmingham, on the 17th of February at sunset here, the moon will only be 5 hours old, 5 hours and 23 minutes. The sun will set at 5:24, the moon will set at 5:31, and you've only got 6 minutes. So you've only got a very, very young moon, and you've only got a few minutes to sight it. There's absolutely no chance in the world that you're going to be able to sight that moon. So those based in the UK are not going to be able to see the moon on the Tuesday, the 17th of February, no matter how hard they try. It's impossible. There's no scientist who will ever say that you should be able to sight that moon. If you do see something, you've not seen the moon, you've seen something else. On Wednesday the 18th, the moon will be 29 hours old. So that's, well over 24 hours. And you'll also have an hour and 27 minutes visibility window. Now, I've said very good chance. I said excellent chance. You should be able to sight the moon. There's no cloud and there's, nothing happening in the sky. You should be able to sight the moon. And I expect lots of people around the country to sight the moon on Wednesday the 18th. And then you can start the fast on Thursday. You cannot start on the fast on Wednesday if you're following the moon, because there's no way the moon can be sighted. Let's have a look at Morocco, because that's quite close to us, and it's also a lot of its readings align with us, which is why a lot of our people do accept or take guidance from Morocco's moon sighting, because they've got a clear horizon, and there is the view that why do we take political borders? We should be looking at geographical borders, and with geographical borders, it's quite aligned to us. On Tuesday the 17th, their moon will be 6 hours old, but they'll have just 10 minutes. So they've got slight better chance of sighting it, but then they've got no chance of sighting on Tuesday the 17th of Feb. They do go and sight the moon on a government level, so I do not expect them to sight the moon on Tuesday the 17th. Wednesday the 18th, you can see 30 hours old moon, over an hour to sight it. So again, they've got a very good chance to sight it on Wednesday the 18th. So I expect them to sight the moon on Wednesday the 18th of February, and for them to start the fast on Thursday. Now, let's have a look at Mecca in Saudi Arabia, if they were going to sight the moon. Now, the interesting thing is, we in the UK, because we're to the west, we have a greater chance of sighting the moon than the Saudis, just because of our location. Now, if we can't sight the moon, there should be no chance in the world that Makkah could sight the moon in Saudi Arabia. And the stats bear that out. On Tuesday, the 17th of February, the age of the moon will only be 3 hours, and they will only have 3 minutes of visibility window. I mean, there's absolutely no chance in the world that can be sighted. Anyone who claims to have sighted the moon in Saudi Arabia that night is lying. It's as simple as that. We can't be any stronger or any stronger than that, because there's no one in the world who will be able to tell you that they should be able to sight a moon based on those readings. And that's the empirical evidence. And those people who are going to follow Saudi Arabia need to ask themselves, why are they following them? On what basis are they following them? Moving on to the Wednesday, the 18th of Feb, the moon will be 27 hours old. They'll be just under an hour. So they've got a good chance of sighting the moon, and they should sight the moon that day, given the clear skies. So the moon is not sightable in Makkah on those days, on the Tuesday, the 17th, but they will fast on the 18th. We're hoping that they see sense and don't start the fast and create this discord within the nation, but they probably will. So in summary, Allah Ta'ala gives us the ability to follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ and to perform our ibadah the way the Prophet ﷺ and Allah Ta'ala wants us to, which is on the correct days. So may Allah Ta'ala open our hearts to guidance. So finally, make sure you subscribe to the channel and have a look at the other videos on this channel, especially the one about not opening your fast at sunset time.